No, I think the biggest thing to know is that like obviously the lender that you work with matters. And
Mm,
so like someone that you know and trust and that ideally works in the area, I think is big. So having our lender, um, George Lane, he was great. He was super helpful. He answered a ton of questions. He would run numbers for them on all the different properties they were interested in and stuff. But I think that's the biggest thing about VA loans is it essentially operates so, very similarly to a regular loan. There are things to keep in mind, different requirements that it needs to meet and that sort of thing. And, the appraisal might be a bit more in depth, but it's a great, great tool that anybody that has access to it should definitely utilize.
hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
coming down from Seattle was interesting to me. There's just naturally, there's not as many VA buyers up in Seattle where, because down here we're so close to the base that, listing agents are used to seeing VA loans quite a bit more. So just a perception there is
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, that I was literally gonna just say that. I was like, yeah, and it's a niche thing down here, not niche, but it's something that we see more often down here, but
Yeah.
probably not up there. You mentioned like saying that it matters that the lender's local. Why do you say that?
I just think it helps to have someone that has knowledge of the area. I mean, it's not
Mm,
it's not like a total must do or a deal breaker, but I think it's helpful to have them know like which area you're talking about, and
mm,
I think it's
yeah,
beneficial.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they've seen a lot in that area. Like, there's definitely some
Yeah, and they
nuanced
know
things
maybe
about.
certain areas or properties that are like seeing more low appraisals or that I don't
Yeah,
know, that
yeah.
kind of thing doesn't make a big difference, but I do think it can help.
I think it makes a big difference, like in terms of just knowing the lay of the land, and like what's
Yeah.
happening. He might have walked in a house before and seen it because goes out on. I know what George does. He goes out on tour and he visits
Yes.
people and stuff. So he's like literally inside houses. Like
Yeah.
someone that's maybe not in the state might not have that context, that
Yeah.
contextual knowledge.
Well,
So
and like thinking about the way that you're off, obviously it's always the buyer's decision, but I always want to let them know, like, do think about how your offer is going to be perceived on the other end, along with your pre-approval letter. If the listing agent is looking at a pre-approval letter from like a really big company or an online mortgage company or that kind of thing, it's maybe not going to
yeah,
be as well perceived as like a local lender or local company, maybe even a
hmm,
name that they recognize that they've
right.
worked with before, and it can really work in the buyer's favor to get their offer accepted. So maybe the offer is like under the listing price or it has an inspection contingency or things like that, but the listing agent has more assurance that it's going to be smooth because they trust the lender and they are able to get them on the phone. They're not like calling a call center and getting passed around anytime there's a question with the transaction, which in this case there were a couple times that we had to call.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a
yeah,
pro tip. That's a pro tip for
approach.
real. Like I